how's it going? My name's Nico, I go by COINTrick and COINTRICktwitch online. If you want to see more videos like this one, please remember to like and subscribe. Hit that bell so you get notified every time I upload another one of these videos. I get asked a lot, how exactly do I start a bar or start a collection at home? And there are a lot of different ways to answer that question. I think normally people want to know, like, what are like 5, 8, 12, 20 bottles or whatever that I need to get to make as many drinks as possible. And normally I would say don't do that. Normally I would say find one classic cocktail, master that, and like go from there. And we've done a whole series on that. It is the Build-A-Bar series, and we've covered a handful of classic cocktails there already. And that's what we're doing here. But the most important thing here is that this is the one cocktail that will allow you to probably make the most cocktails after you've mastered it. And it's probably one that you're not expecting. It's the Long Island Iced Tea. My name's Nico, I go by COINTrick and COINTRICktwitch online, and today I'm going to be showing you guys how to make and master the Long Island Iced Tea. We've been doing this series of videos where we break down classic cocktails and we explain them basically in 3 parts. In the first part, which is what we're doing here, I show you how to make the cocktail from a classic recipe, and then how to adjust it for your taste or for the tastes of your guests if you're doing this at work. And then in part 2, I show you what similar ingredients you can go out and find, and what similar cocktails you can make with those similar ingredients in the same style of the original cocktail from part 1. And then in part 3, we're gonna get weird, and I'll show you how to make a signature cocktail from scratch in the same style that you've learned in parts 1 and 2. And then I'll show you some advanced techniques that you can use at home or at work to make sure that your drink stands out from those classics. Quick note, the ingredients to the Long Island Iced Tea are relatively universal, right? So most bars will make it all about the same way. In this instance though, I'm gonna be using fresh citrus juice. It's important to note though, because many bars will just use sweet and sour mix. But you can pretty much sub it in. I'll let you guys know what the measurement is if that's all that you have at home. And that's also the way that most bars will make it. Most bars won't actually just squeeze the juice ready in front of you. And there's a small difference between using fresh citrus juice and using sweet and sour mix. So what all do you need, right? What are the ingredients to make a Long Island Iced Tea? I have them all here in front of me, right? So you need vodka, gin, Blanco tequila, and silver rum, an orange liqueur, and then sweet and sour mix or some sort of citric acid, citrus juice, and then cola. I'm using Coca-Cola, but you can use whatever kind of cola you like. But Nico, what tools do we need to make the Long Island Iced Tea? So you actually kind of get a break here, right? This is one of the reasons why this is actually a fun cocktail to learn at first and master first. Because you don't need these guys. You don't need shakers to make the Long Island Iced Tea. It's all gonna be built in your glass. So, first, make sure you have a tall glass, or a Collins glass, or a highball, or there's lots of different words for this kind of glass, but make sure you have something like this. The next thing you're gonna need is some sort of measuring utensil. This is a jigger. It measures 2 ounces on one side, 1 ounce on the other. It's from Pina, and there are little indentions on the inside that let you know where you have a 1/4 ounce, 1/2 ounce, 3/4, and 1.5 ounces. So this is really good product. The last 2 things that you're gonna need, and this only applies if you're doing fresh citrus juice, is you're gonna need a juicer and you're gonna need a knife to cut your citrus. But you don't need that stuff if you have sweet and sour mix. So how do we make this cocktail? Well, the first thing you're gonna wanna do is measure all of your liquid ingredients separately in your glass, and try to do this before you add any ice to this, because you don't want your ice to dilute your first ingredient before you start adding any of your other ingredients. It's gonna be 3/4 ounce of all of your base liquor, so that's the gin, vodka, tequila, and rum. And then you're gonna do 1/2 ounce of your orange liqueur, which in this instance, I'm using dry curacao. You can use Cointreau. Many bars will use triple sec. I actually just prefer dry curacao, and I don't have triple sec behind my bar. So you're gonna do all of that. Time to add the sweet and sour mix. We're making ours from scratch. So I'm using lemon and lime. Yeah, there we go. So here I have 3/4 ounce lemon and lime juice. And then many recipes will specify the amount of soda that you need, but in my opinion, this is a good time to add your ice and then top with your soda. But in general, like a good measurement to go by would be about 2 ounces of your mixer, your topper. I'm gonna go add that ice though, and I'll be right back. Boom! Look at that. All right. Now, not a whole lot of space for this mixer. I'll try and make it work. If you were going to garnish this, you would garnish it with a lemon wedge or a lime wedge or both. Some people will put cherries on this, all kinds of nonsense. You really just some wedges on there so that you have some extra acidity for yourself or your guests if your drink is too sweet or too strong or anything like that. This is about it. One extra step that will go a long way is make sure that you stir this just a little bit. You can go and grab a stirring spoon, which I have, but if you have a knife, you can just do that. Or if you're making it for yourself, you can stir it around with your finger, stir it around with a straw, whatever you have available. I'm not here to complicate your life, but let's see how this tastes. Woo. All right, interesting. Before, it's a good cocktail, first of all. First and foremost, great recipe, good cocktail. It's never gonna be perfect the first time you make it. So I'm gonna describe to you exactly how to tell what is going wrong with your cocktail or what exactly isn't perfect, and to really dial it in and make those adjustments so that it's perfect for you or for your guests if you're doing this at work. First and foremost, cocktails only have 5 different kinds of ingredients, or 5 roles that your ingredients can play, and those are liquor, lengthener, sweet, sour, and spice. I'll explain those in this cocktail really quick because it'll help you understand how to modify this for your specific taste. So first thing, the most complicated thing is your liquor, right? Because there are 4 base liquors in this cocktail. You have your rum, tequila, vodka, and your gin. For all intents and purposes, the vodka is the most important base liquor here because it is the only one that isn't providing any sort of aroma or flavor or color or anything like that to this specific cocktail, right? The whole point of vodka is that it should be odorless, it should be colorless, and it should be relatively tasteless. So we'll circle back to those other 3 at the end when I explain spice. The second most important thing is going to be your lengthener, which in this instance is that Coca-Cola that you add at the end. Normally in a cocktail, your lengthener would be your ice. Typically it's the ice that you shake it with or stir it with, or it's some sort of club soda that you top it with if you're making a highball. Quick note, we've already made a video on how to make and master highball style cocktails. We started with the vodka soda, same 3-step process all the way over into our signature cocktail, and you can check that out on our YouTube channel. So what is the thing that typically goes wrong with cocktails as far as your base liquors go? Normally, it's that you have too much heat or too much alcohol and your drink is too strong. The easiest solution, but maybe not the most effective, is going to be for you to remake this with a 1/2 ounce of all of your base liquors instead of 3/4 ounce of all of your base liquors, which is one way that many bars will make this because it'll lower costs and you can crank them out a little bit faster. They'll be a little bit lower in alcohol so people won't get super duper duper drunk if you're serving this at a bar or if you're serving this at a party. The other thing you can do, and this is a little bit more advanced, is that you can use the same recipe but shake all of your ingredients except for your cola apart and then strain that over ice and then add the cola. But essentially what you're doing when you do that is you're adding a little bit of dilution. So you can skip most of that and you can just add a little bit more ice and just stir it a little bit. You can try that to take off some of that heat, some of that bite, some of that spice if you have too much heat and alcohol in your cocktail. The second most important thing is going to be your lengthener, and in this instance it's your Coca-Cola. Normally your lengthener would be the ice that you're shaking or stirring your cocktail with, or the club soda that you're topping your cocktail with if you're making something like a highball style cocktail. Quick note, we've already made a series of videos on making and mastering the highball style cocktail, starting from a vodka soda and then working all the way over into our own signature style cocktail. If you want to watch that video, it's already up on our YouTube channel, all 3 parts, and I really highly suggest you check that out because it teaches you how to make a lot of other kinds of classic cocktails that are incredibly simple and easy to master. Third most important role in your cocktail, your sweetener. In this instance, and this is something that the Long Island actually shares with a whole lot of different cocktails and a bunch of different schools, your sweetener is actually your orange liqueur in this instance. There is some sugar in your Coca-Cola and there is some sweetness maybe in some of the other ingredients that you have, like your sweet and sour mix, but by and large, your sweet component, the thing that is really like carrying the weight of the sweetness of the cocktail and giving it that body, is going to be your orange liqueur. So for me, it's this dry curacao. So what do you do if your drink is too sweet? You can add citrus, and that extra acidity will sort of eat away at that sugar, so it's a little bit easier to drink. The same principle applies to things like Coca-Cola, right? Coca-Cola has enough sugar in it that it should be way too sweet to drink, but because there's so much acid in it as well, which is terrible for your teeth, but that's for a whole other video. Because there's so much acid in it, you don't notice how sweet it is. The same principle is at work. Another thing that you can do is, if you're using sour mix, don't. If you're using sour mix or sweet and sour mix, don't do that. I really highly suggest that you just use some fresh citrus. It won't last as long, but it will make a huge difference at the end of your cocktail. Fourth role that your ingredients are playing in your cocktail, or fourth most important, right? It's gonna be your sour component, which in many cocktails is your citrus. So for me, it's the lemon and lime juice that I added. If you're using sweet and sour mix at home, it's your sweet and sour mix that you added to your cocktail. So what do you do if your cocktail is too sour? Well, the same way that if your cocktail is too sweet, you want to add an acidic component. If your cocktail is too sour, you want to add a sweet component. If your cocktail is a little bit too sour, too astringent, add a little bit of syrup or add a little bit of your dry curacao. The fifth and final role that your ingredients can play in your cocktail is going to be your spice. Normally, your spiced component in your cocktail is going to be something like something really aromatic, something pungent, like your bitters in a Manhattan. But in this case, it's actually coming from some of your base liquors. I mentioned earlier that in your base liquors, and those are your vodka, gin, tequila, and rum, your vodka is the only one that isn't adding any kind of flavor or scent. And for that reason, your rum, gin, and tequila are sort of your spice components here. So balancing those is really important. So how do you do that? What do you do if your drink is too pungent or one of those flavors is overwhelming all of the other ones? There are two things that you can do. The first thing is that you can add a little bit of cola, which will sort of flatten some of that flavor. The second thing that you can do is you can add some dilution, and adding the cola does that a little bit as well. Basically what I'm getting at is that you want to add some kind of lengthener, because what that will do is it will tease out those flavors so that none of them are too astringent or too strong to play well with the other flavors that are in the drink. So, why did I choose the Long Island iced tea? Well, I get asked about this drink a lot, a whole lot. But the real reason, like I mentioned at the beginning of this video, is that if you begin with the Long Island iced tea, you'll very quickly build up a collection of liquor on your back bar that you can use to learn a bunch of extra classic cocktails. And in part 2, I'll tell you what those extra bottles are and what those other classic cocktails are that you can learn how to make. There's about 4 of them, but there's a quick interesting fact about 3 of them that I think you're gonna wanna know. And then in part 3, we'll make a signature cocktail, same style, 4 base liquors, 1 sweetening liquor, lengthener, the whole 9 yards. We're gonna do all that, and it's gonna get weird, and I'm excited. Thanks for sticking around. Thanks for all of your help and support. Hopefully I've been helpful and supportive for you all as well, since that's why we do everything here. If you learned anything, please remember to like and subscribe and comment what drinks you wanna learn how to make at home. Until then, I'll see you all in the next video. Take care, you guys.